I get tired of this place. I've been here ever since all my life, having to deal with this stuff. Always having to deal with people thinking that my hair isn't real. Am I real? Who are you doing stuff with? And every single time that you decide to be mean to people, I got to get the backlash. Tired of this stuff. Every time you decide that you don't want to pay attention to something, it's my fault. No, it's not. I'm too old for this stuff. Tired of being in the cities that you know don't like black people and then you still gonna keep acting stupid. Tired of that stuff. Everybody always want a biracial kid, but then when you realize the shit that you put them through, it's a whole situation. Sitting there talking about, I didn't know they're really showing their true colors. What the fuck you mean? Do you not remember all the stuff we were going through when I was in school? I was going through way worse than that. You just didn't notice because I wasn't talking about it. Terror Ho's always been like this, has always been power tripping about everything. Sat there, don't make any sense that we went to the freaking museum and just to get information. And this woman trying to sit there and say, step aside. It's like, you guys didn't create anything. You're just white. I'm not trying to be funny, but have some respect for people that actually brought people into this country who've been here for years just because you want to keep power tripping that Christopher Columbus sold everything. Like, I'm so sick and tired of people always trying to make other people feel bad about something. And then when I tell them, ease up, chill out, they don't want to chill out. Tired of going through this stuff. And friends of mine sitting there talking about, I didn't know they're showing their true colors because you've been white all your life. Didn't nobody tell you that they didn't like black people, but now you know. How can you ignore somebody who keeps following you? How do you ignore somebody who keeps allowing people to disrespect you? That's the reason why I feel that I feel. It's not that I don't like gay people. I love gay people. But when my landlord decides to let a bunch of people that are not from this country come into my apartment and break stuff, when you got people constantly doing this stuff to you, and you got to sit there and go to a hotel just to get some peace so you can go to work, and they taking stuff off your car, how the fuck are you supposed to be calm about it? Y'all have never went through that stuff because everything is given to you. So don't give me this, oh, just ignore them when they have been doing vicious stuff, stolen stuff ever since we first moved here. Just because you don't pay attention to anything, that's not my fault. Tired of going through that grief. Oh, white people doing this, and then my family members talking about what white people do, but you end up giving them the benefit of the doubt because you always got to be sitting there talking to them crazy. And then when stuff happens, then you want to sit there and claim racism. You can't be talking to people crazy. You already know they don't like you. And then that's supposed to be my fault because stuff don't work out. Stop talking to people crazy. Common sense. Tired of that stuff. I'm just trying to go to bed. I'm over here almost having a nervous breakdown. I almost stepped on my sister's grave because I forgot where we were and we didn't have the placards because they took it up disrespectfully. My older sister's grave. I had three to four siblings. I would have been the youngest out of five. And they took up Jasmine's, my oldest sister's, information. So I didn't know where I was standing, and after I realized where I was standing, I almost lost it. Not to mention, I just buried my grandmother last year and haven't been able to grieve it. And everybody talking about Sabrina doing too much. What do you mean I've been doing too much? I've been burying people since I graduated high school. First, it was my cousin in 2012. Then it was another cousin in 2014. Then it was another cousin. Then, after my grandfather died, my younger brother passes away. What else am I supposed to do? Sabrina gonna go through a whole lot of stuff because she's been through a whole lot of stuff. It ain't like I'm just crying for my health. You try moving from a city that's predominantly black to a place that don't really like black people, and you got to hear all these innuendos. People can just flunk you just because they can. You're trying to go to school. They give their cousins and everybody else the right answer, but you over here flunking. missing the bus and everything. That's the reason why I don't want to live back here. Y'all don't know the stress that I had to go through trying to wait on the bus and she just drive past because she can. Be a 2-hour delay in the winter time. I have to figure out how to get there. A lot of times I was walking because of the bus. Sit there going through changes, people judging me. Why are you late? Can you give me a ride? You're not gonna give me a ride, then okay. And then the people that I used to be neighbors to, the moment that you see me, oh, I didn't even recognize you. Are you mad because you had to take me to school? Is it my fault that people just wanted to be mean to me because I was black? I had to learn how to adapt in a city that never liked me. And everybody always got to give me grief. How the fuck is a young biracial kid at that, a black kid at that, supposed to maneuver amongst people that's calling you, hey nigger? All my life, that's all I heard. You black gums, you darky, you fat. Whoopi Goldberg, the moment that I changed my hair and put it in braids, because Antonio wants to sit there and say, Whoopi, in class. It's the reason why I never liked him at times, because always saying stuff, and then now that he's got a baby girl, everything is supposed to change. Sick of that stuff. You already know black people going through stuff bad. Stop doing that. And then you got saints at the church because they don't like my grandfather, got a personal vendetta. That's not my fault that my grandfather was trying to keep you out of sexual sin. Be honest about that. If you've been sleeping with everybody's husband, don't get mad at him because he's trying to get you clean, and then he got to deal with her husband and her wife. Y'all been mistresses ever since he has been pastoring. Now all of a sudden that my uncle's pastoring, you want him to sit there and give you the same hall pass. But you wanted to accuse him of stealing. He never stole anything. He bought that Mercedes with his money because he has a degree. Unlike some of you guys that just be sleeping with folk just to get stuff. And then want to give people grief about what they do. I'm not putting people of color down because I am a person of color. But what pisses me off is when you got people sitting there talking about, ooh, that's a stretch that you're talking about R. Kelly. Ooh, that's a stretch that you're talking about this person. Ooh, that's a stretch. That's a stretch. Black people coming to me talking about, that's a stretch. How long have you been black? You know what's crazy? And I'm going to say it, I don't care if the fans like it or not. Aaliyah been gone for I don't know how many years, and she's just now getting justice for what R. Kelly did to her. I don't really care what anybody says. You don't give your daughter that's in middle school to somebody else. That's what her parents did. Now everybody wants to do this surviving R. Kelly. You knew this nigga was like this a long time ago. Now all of a sudden you want to mute him? I'm not yelling at the survivors, but you got to be honest with yourself all the way around. Let's talk about all of it, because it was all fun and games. But when you was in his face and playing with him, because I know I've been a girl my whole entire life. I had a teacher that used to like young girls, and he got in trouble because he was sleeping with one of them. Sit there and power play stuff, and then everybody like, Sabrina's over here tripping. She's over here running her mouth. Don't worry about what the fuck I'm doing. I'm 25. You get my age, then you can start talking about stuff. And I get so sick and tired of people talking about you over there sounding like you 20. So I'm supposed to be, that identifies me as a grown woman because I had sex with somebody? Sick of that shit. At my job at Golden Living, Sabrina sitting there, Whitley sitting there talking about, you don't know, you've never been through something. So just because you had a kid, you had a baby by some random person, that automatically makes you a woman? Just because I decided to put my education first, you decided to put your vagina first, you think I'm supposed to sit there and take that stuff. You guys have been doing stuff to people for years, and then when somebody tell you something, and then Jordan gonna sit there and talk about that little conversation that you had. Listen, I'm not gonna mind you. You need to talk to your wife and tell the truth about why you and the DON have been having sex, and that's the reason why she doesn't want to deal with you. And then let's talk about the freaking workers. You think I don't know this stuff, Vicky? You want to sit there and talk about what I've been doing. What about what you've been doing? I can't even focus on my health because you want to ask me to walk across the street. I was in the hospital for a blood transfusion. Anybody else that has common sense would have walked up there and said, "It's Sabrina Spencer here." You would have had my file. You would have been fine. But because y'all like to do stuff illegal, then all of a sudden you want to say something. For Adrian to sit there and say, "I didn't have that stuff on file," you pickaninny. Because the only reason why you basically being Jordan's little bitch is because you didn't have the balls to file something when you failed. But everybody's supposed to be calm. Sabrina, you're tripping. No, all of y'all were doing inappropriate stuff. And Tracy, the reason why I can't stand your thin snicker behind, because you had the audacity to sit there and yell at me, "Bitch, I ain't your daughter. I do whatever I feel like fucking doing. If I want to do it, I can do it. Just because you finally got a position don't mean you can treat anybody any kind of way." And then Robin, "Well, I heard that you were gone. I can leave if I want to leave. If I feel like leaving, that's my motherfucking business. Make sure you have your people clean." I had my people clean. I would have been had my people clean. But my issue is, can't nobody keep their people clean if you're always outside smoking and gossiping about people. But you wouldn't know anything about that because that's all you do. The moment that I went outside just to go get something to eat, you want to sit there and say, "Well, this is what you said." Remember the one that's so-called from Chicago sitting there saying, "Well, when your authority calls you, you pick up the phone." No, bitch. You're just in management because Jordan actually wanted you to be a field nigga. So now all of a sudden I'm supposed to give you some type of property. That's the reason why I cussed your ass out. I don't care. Just because you finally made some history and finally got a job for once instead of sitting on your ass. That's what all of y'all fucking nurses did. Didn't do nothing but sit on your ass while me and Sherry were trying to pass trays. None of y'all wanted to help us. All of a sudden Sabrina no, Sabrina's tired of the bullshit that y'all be doing. And then let's talk about Donna. Donna, since you want to act like you're a black woman, let me school you in on something. You will never talk to me like you crazy. You will never get in my face, and you will never go to another job and tell my business. So when I went over there and said I was going to call your husband because I was going to beat you up, period. You don't sit there and talk about somebody else's business. I don't give a fuck if they ask. That's my business. If somebody wants to know about me, they can ask this person right here. I've been in this body for 25 years. Who the fuck are you to sit there and say something? They had the audacity to say, "Sabrina, say one more word." I wish the fuck you would come in my face and tell me what you was gonna do. Tell me. And then good old Jennifer. Jennifer want to sit there and power play, think just because she's white, "Oh, I was abused and I did this." Tell the truth. You and your little Hispanic friend, and I'm not making fun of Hispanic people, you, Diane, and all of them sat there and lied. We were supposed to be there in that place. We were supposed to get a granite apartment. You gave us a gray stone, thought you were slick, gave us an apartment that was $400 over the budget, then had the nerve to say that we were threatening you because you knew the truth, that you were lying and being racist because you guys are racist, and then gonna have the nerve to have us to go to court. I came off my job again. This is 3 times I've came off my job for ignorant people, and then for you to sit there, dismiss the case. This judge gonna sit there and say, "Good luck," and 2 and 3 other people are homeless because of what you guys decide to do. Then you're gonna have the audacity to ask for $1,000 back. You lied just because you wanted to sit there and play this little white woman game. "Oh my God, I'm being abused. Somebody's abusing me." Ain't nobody abusing you. You just didn't like the fact that a black woman and another African American woman could afford something. So you put us all the way in the back. And when I told you I didn't have enough money, it was Leslie that sat there and kept trying to argue stuff. I don't know what you're referring to. She and her family, just because of how she is, got into the apartment and probably were stealing. The reason why I don't like her is because she's the same age as me. She knew better. She made the decision. It was her fault. Then Diane, with her Jim Crow scary ass, gonna sit there and say, you're gonna have to take that up with the attorney. Just because you're dark skinned and you don't know your place, that's not my problem. But because you wanted a power trip, because this is your one good job, because you've been working so hard, big freaking deal. And then Jennifer, just because you had one little gay guy sit there and speak for you. Sit there and speak for you. Now all of a sudden, you're going to have to talk to the attorney. I don't really care about your attorney. What I care about is Indiana is racist. You can sit there, and then let's go back to Glick. The fact that Glick got into my mother's car, sat there, and stole information. Oh yes, I'm talking about it. Just to save a gay person's job. Yes, I don't have issues with gay people, but I do have an issue with them if you come into my mother's car and make me lose a job because you don't want to be honest with the fact that you never liked black people, but all of a sudden we're supposed to care about your rights. My rights are important just like your rights are important. If you think gay people have rights, then guess what? Black people have rights too. But guess what? We didn't choose who the fuck we were supposed to be. You wanted to sit there and say you were born that way, that's your business. But the moment that you step into my mother's car to make an issue, I'm coming for you because I didn't need to lose a job because you wanted to be racist. Now let's power trip back to almost every job that I've had just because somebody wanted a power trip. Almost every job I've had, whether it was my fault or not, you guys have been stereotyping me ever since I got there and didn't care. All the way from Allison Point to freaking Spring Mill. I don't care what the situation is. I wouldn't have had to cut my hair if black people would stop grabbing my hair, sitting there trying to figure out if there's a real part of my head. Don't worry about what grows out of my scalp. And that's what she did. She sat there and grabbed my hair, sitting there talking about she's got a track in there somewhere. Don't worry about what's on my head. I won't worry about yours. I don't have an issue with black women, but I have an issue with people that want to sit there and claim racism when you do stuff to other people. But then all of a sudden it's the white man all the time. If white people do just like you say, then stop treating another person of color like crap. Oh, that's right. That's the only way you can get in this world. Indianapolis. Now let's go to Terre Haute. I've been dealing with racism ever since I was a kid, and it was a black woman that told my mother that I skipped school when I was really at band recital. That's what you Native American people do. That's what you black people do. Because you want to sit there and make white folks think that you can do something. That's the reason why the only job she can get was at McLean. Sat there, was in music class. My mother had the decency to buy y'all something. It was Mr. Basso and his wife that sat there and called her a mammy. Then let's go to Mr. Nearpass. Mr. Nearpass want to sit there and go off on somebody because he don't have the balls to sit there and talk about his own stuff. Then when I happen to see his wife in Kroger's, she gonna act like she don't know me. Just because you don't want to deal with the fact that you have black students is not my problem, but don't sit there and try to act like I know what I was doing. Made me feel like I was stupid all my life, always asking me questions about what my mother was doing as if that had anything to pertain to my education. Now that I'm making more money than half y'all little ugly hoes, now all of a sudden you want to tell me how to live my life? Stay out of my comments, sis. And then let's talk about this job. I don't appreciate somebody, especially if you're from the motherland, and I'm telling you that I don't like you like that. And I told this Negro for years, I don't like you. And I call him that because that's how we talk to each other. I told him I didn't like him. He says the same thing to me. He keeps pressing the situation. The reason why people don't really like Nigerian folks is nothing against Nigerians, but the men are too aggressive. I've dated almost every single Nigerian that I can have known to man. This is nothing against them. But this is something against to do with the women or the men, because you overseas think that women don't have an answer. Well, guess what? You're in America. You can't force your way through. That is sexual harassment. Now let's talk about the scheduler. Listen, I get that you're gay, but I've told you from day one I didn't want you touching me. The first day that you wanted to fill me up, I told you I don't roll like that. I don't know you like that. Then all of a sudden, because I couldn't come like you said, you gonna sit there and take stuff off of my schedule just because you can power trip. That's the reason why you got a lot of people that don't like gay people, because y'all sit there and play this 1 minute I'm a woman and then 1 minute I'm a man, and then when somebody's doing something to you, you want to claim somebody's hurting your feelings. But if you're being manipulative like that, listen, I've been gay before. I've been in that situation before. The reason why I left the situation before is like I did before, because I got tired of the manipulation, because y'all don't do nothing but lie and then claim somebody's doing stuff to you when you've been doing it the whole entire time. I know how it rocks. I've been the person the whole entire time. For about 3 years, I know almost every last friend of mine is LGBTQ, but I got an issue with it if you're going to come into my mother's house and destroy stuff. That's the reason why I've been putting stuff on YouTube on another episode of SMS News Channel.